Hey guys, what's going on? We got another Enhancement Shaman Mythic Plus video. This time we are doing a 13 Bracken hide. We got affixes of Tyrannical, Entangling, and Bursting. Bit of a pain in the butt, but you know what? Could be worse, could be bolstering, and other things to be honest. Yeah, so this actually went very, very well. I'm playing with my friend, the Evoker, Live New. Also, probably you've more seen her as Gerline, a hunter. So we are doing this. She's an Aug Evoker. And then we have a Pug Shadow Priest, Pug Resto Shaman, and a Pug Paladin. You're probably thinking, wow, that's a pretty stacked team. And I was like, yeah, I literally made this just because I wanted to make myself look good. I wanted PI and I wanted the, like, because Gare was playing the AUG, I was like, I want a Shadow Priest, I want PI, or some sort of healer priest so I could get PI and feel really good about myself. Because, you know, everybody wants to do as much damage as possible, right? And the overall looked pretty good for me, so as you'll see. But anyways, I just want to say this video is sped up at increased to 1.25 rather than the usual 1.5 because it was quite a long video. It was 32 minutes, and you know, I really don't think people want to sit through this for 32 minutes, but maybe you guys do. I don't know. But I figured just a little bit of a speed up would be better because, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so this is sped up just a little bit. As you probably noticed, we're going a bit faster than usual. But yeah, the timer came out pretty close. The Shadow Priest didn't do as much damage as I thought they were going to do, but you know what? I can't complain too much because we did time it, although you know, it came pretty darn close. It was quite a surprise to see the Shadow Priest. Maybe he didn't have the right talents or something, I'm not sure. But we got MD and stuff for bursting. He did good with that. And another thing is, I really like the way this Paladin pulled things. Not just like grouping and stuff, I mean his pathing. If you don't know, in Brackenhide Hollow, the biggest group wipes that are going to happen are with the Rot Singers in the second room. And what this guy did is he actually skipped 2 of the Rot Singers and he pulled extra in this front room. We were very confused at the start, but then he started skipping these Rot Singers and I'm like, holy crap, I really like this. Like, because the Rot Singers are a pain. If you don't know what they do, they summon a totem called the Withering Totem, and basically what that does is after a cast time, it puts a whole rotting dot on your group, and as it ramps up, it deals even more damage, and this damage is quite significant even on a tyrannical week. But it also reduces haste, and the only way to get rid of it is with a alchemist in the group, with your getting the potion thingy from the pots, or you have a disease dispel, which we do have 2. We have, or 3 technically. Evoker does have a minute disease dispel. Priests do have a disease dispel, and same with Paladin. But what he did is he's like, I'm not even going to mess around with this. Let's just skip as many as we can. And we only ended up pulling 1 Rot Singer. And it was great. Although it did come close, but the Resto Shaman really pulled through, I think, when it did happen. But yeah, so I really like the way he pulled everything. It went pretty smooth. This key did take a while. But as I said, if you've noticed, the priest isn't doing a absurd amount of damage as I thought was going to happen, because normally Shadow Priests are major pumpers, but again, maybe he didn't have the right talents, maybe he's still fairly new, I'm not sure. I invited him because he was a priest and I wanted PI. That was my only reason. I wasn't expecting, you know, anything too amazing, but here he's like, he's monster pumping here, and it was great. He's doing a huge amount of damage, doing all that, and you know, just it just seemed maybe the pulls weren't towards his cooldowns or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know how Shadow Priests really work, to be honest, but overall, you know, I was doing all the damages. It was great. But anyways, yeah, so this key was great. The Paladin was great. Everybody was great. And it did come close, but you know, like I said, can't really complain. It was timed in the overall. But as you can see here, he does a weird pull. This is where me and Gare were like, what the heck's going on here? And then after we go into the second room, we're like, oh, that's why he pulled all that and stuff like that. So it was quite a nice path, and I think I might use this when I'm tanking too. Um, but yeah, there was a question I wanted to ask you guys. So recently, I have noticed, because I've been playing other games such as Overwatch and a bit of League of Legends, and watching videos on them, apparently cheaters are becoming more and more common. And I was wondering if you guys have noticed that in any other, maybe you're playing other games, or maybe you've noticed in WoW. I know scripts have become very, uh, a lot more common lately. As to why, I'm not sure. But yeah, in Overwatch, it's becoming significantly bad. Like there's cheaters on cheaters and stuff like that. It's getting crazy. In League of Legends too, it's just like, why is it all of a sudden becoming so common to cheat in games? Like I don't get it. I know the reason behind it is because, the player sucks and wants to be good at it, but use some sort of third party to become good at it. It's like, why even bother playing the game at that point? Why not just learn how to play? I don't understand cheating at video games, um, unless it's like a single player. But when you're playing like a multiplayer type of game, like all these games, why bother cheat? I like it doesn't make sense. You're just gonna get banned eventually anyways. And I know a lot of people rip on Blizzard and stuff like that for not instantly banning cheaters, but I think from what I've heard from the top streamers and stuff mentioning about it, is that basically they get a collection. They want them to basically, I guess, showcase the cheats in a sense or something like that. And then once enough people get it, they ban it because they're making them spend money on these cheats. And then a whole ban wave comes through, and then like they burn a lot of money, and now they have to buy a new account and stuff like that. So I'm not quite sure how it works, but that's what I've heard. And I do kind of agree with that because you'll catch more people with it. But at the same time, it's very annoying to play with it. Like I think a lot of from what I've heard from Overwatch streamer Flats, is that a lot of people have stopped playing Overwatch because of how many cheaters there are. It's just not fun, right? And it is, and I believe the company understands that it's not fun for players, and they're doing their best, but it's very difficult to like catch every single player. And I don't know, maybe they need to bring something out. I really don't know. It's the same for WoW. Like when you go into an arena or something and this player is scripting to instant interrupt or something like that, or instant dodge your kick and stuff like that, it's very frustrating. It really is. And you can't, it's very difficult to tell with World of Warcraft. Like I can't really tell. I can only assume sometimes. But when I'm watching like Supatis or Benruki or Peekaboo, all those top PvP players, and they're showing like what kind of signs to look for, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these irrational, or not really irrational, but weird, non-human reaction times. And obviously sometimes you can get lucky. I mean, I've gotten lucky with a few kicks of just, constantly just like 1 in a million chance that this guy is prepping a heal. I know it's coming, so I'm just sitting there waiting for it. I'm not pressing any keys. I'm just waiting to kick because I'm waiting for that cast bar, and I'm like, bam, and I kick him pretty darn fast. But like that's like a 1 in a million thing, right? Whereas if you're fighting somebody and they're constantly getting you with an instant kick on maybe a very certain spell or something like that, then you're just kind of like, okay. But yeah, I'm just wondering, have you guys noticed like an increase in cheaters? Because I've definitely seen some more. But as for confirming that they're cheating, I can't quite do that. I can only assume, like, okay, this seems a little weird. I've had a few games of Overwatch which were a bit, interesting, but I can't quite confirm because I don't consider myself that good of a quality player, right? I can't confirm somebody's cheating, but maybe you guys have had some speculation like, yeah, I think I've probably found some doing that and stuff like that. So I was just curious. So let me know in the comments or whatever, right? So I'm very curious to hear other people's sides of the story, maybe. But anyways, here's the poll where it got very, very spicy. As you can see, I had aggro on one of the withered oaks, so I summoned my Rocky. You can see everybody's kind of falling over. I had already used Ancestral Guidance because you can see on my healing meters that I'm quite pumping the heals right now, doing as much as I can to help out the shaman. And he's just blasting us with heals. He's doing an amazing job keeping us alive. I was quite surprised we are alive, to be honest. But yeah, you can just see he's just blasting it. I see another totem, so I go ahead trying to push as much damage into it, but another set of debuffs go out, unfortunately, so I'm just doing that. And then I finally find the Rot Singer, so I'm just throwing everything into him, because as soon as you kill the Rot Singer, you no longer get totems, and if you kill the Rot Singer while a totem is active, the totem disappears and cancels its cast, right? So, but as you can see, this Resto Shaman was just immaculate at healing. He did an amazing job. It was awesome to see. So yeah, this was the scariest pull of the entire place. It was quite funny. We were both just like, holy crap, I can't believe this Resto Shaman kept us alive. Oh yeah, another note. So if you do play Shaman in general, I recently picked up the Fyrax Rage Heart trinket, and if you don't know what that does, it's a versatility trinket with a almost shadow fire or shadow flame, sorry, damage aura around you. Damages everything with a small amount, but when you use the on use, you get this massive shield, and then you deal extra damage as well. So why am I bringing this up? Well, the cooldown on it is 1.5 minutes.
Watch your step.
And if you don't know, our ancestral shift is 1.5 minutes as well. So you can use this trinket and ancestral shift on a 45-second rotation, and it is actually amazing. I used it, and I thought for sure my damage was going to take a massive hit. But because the damage from the trinket is actually uncapped AoE, now it does do reduced damage, obviously, beyond X amount of targets. I don't remember. I think it's 5. It is actually a solid choice. And you probably have heard that taking it is a good option, especially if you want to push keys, or maybe you're not so certain of some things. But yeah, so I tried it in a I believe it was a 10 Azure Vault. No, I also used it as a Resto Shaman in a 13 Azure Vault. And basically, so it's the first 13 I had ever healed. I have healed keys before, but that was like the highest key I ever healed. And I believe it's the third boss, right? The Frost Dragon, who does that massive AoE explosion. It usually one-shots me if I don't use a defensive. Well, you can actually rotate the Rage Heart with your Astral Shift, and the Rage Heart will actually cause you to take 0 damage from it, and your Astral Shift will come up, and you can just keep rotating them. It is amazing. It is the best thing I have ever freaking felt. It feels so amazing to have 2 defensives. And on top of that, every single boss, especially on a Tyrannical week, right, you're always scared of these tank mechanics. Or not tank mechanics, but these massive damage AoE mechanics. And the same goes for the last boss. You can just rotate Astral Shift and Rage Heart, and you'll like, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing how little damage you can take now. And I know it's kind of weird, oh, why are you taking a tank trinket? But like, as a shaman, you kind of have to. You really do have to, because you just don't have that defense quality. But for the amount of damage you lose versus gaining from running Ominous Chromatic Essence over Rage Heart, it's honestly very minimal. You can barely notice it. but you ain't gonna die. Like, you literally are not going to die. It's hilarious. Especially on like a bursting week too. If you use the rage heart when bursting is, you know, maybe when the mobs are like 25% or something, you use it, you actually take very little damage. It's awesome. I don't think I'm ever gonna run a key without using it anymore. Like, that's just how good it feels to have it on. It's amazing. So if you do have that option, pick it up. You can use your bullions to grab it, or you can bring a friend to heroic fire rack or mythic fire rack, whatever you're able to do, and you can grab that trinket. Oh my god, it just changes the way you play. It's awesome. Um, so yeah, I highly recommend getting that if you're able to. If you're wondering, oh, I can't see the trinket in the vendor, you have to just change your filter to show all items, and you will find it there. For whatever reason, it just doesn't show up, probably because it's a tank trinket and we don't have a tank specialization as a shaman. So, but yeah, totally recommend that. Um, I didn't have it at this point because if you see my quest in the bottom right, you'll see Emissary of War. This is the last dungeon, and this is where I go pick it up right after. But yeah, it honestly, holy crap, I am so happy I bought that trinket. It is amazing. And looking at my overalls too, especially as enhanced, I was quite surprised to see it doing 4 to 5% of my damage. Now, obviously, majority of it is going to be your spells, and like maybe it's not like that amazing, but like 4 to 5% of your damage for a defensive trinket is quite insane. And it gives you versatility as well. So that's already giving you damage reduction and damage increase just flat, because versatility is kind of broken in my opinion. Because giving both damage reduction and, you know, damage is kind of insane. But yeah, so if you're kind of wondering, oh, what should I buy next, buy a fire rack rage heart. I swear it is the best thing ever. So yeah, check that out. Please buy it, especially if you're pushing keys. You're going to need it, because yeah, it's just that big. But yeah, other than that, there hasn't been any news on beta, unfortunately, but we are coming up to a new week, so who knows what's going to happen. The only thing I did recently on beta was I did some arenas, which felt pretty good. Although Totemic is bugged, it was pretty hilarious because I was also doing the new battleground with the blues, with the devs there, on the Friday evening. That was an absolute blast. I had a lot of fun with that. It was hilarious too. But as I said, Totemic is bugged, and it's bugged defensively. And I don't mean in a bad way, I mean in a good way. So basically what happens is when you use your totems, there is a hero talent choice called Wind Barrier. And what that does is while you have totem active, every 30 seconds you get a shield for roughly 500,000. Now keep in mind you have about 7 million HP, sorry. I was going to say 7,000 K, but that sounds weird. But yeah, you have 7 million HP in PvP combat, and you'll probably roughly have about the same for PvE as well. I'm not sure. Maybe like 5 million. But anyways, 500k shield from this talent. And the reason why it's bugged is because it's supposed to refresh every 30 seconds. Well, it currently refreshes every 0.1 seconds. So you have this permanent 500k shield just constantly refreshing itself, like infinitely, and it actually puts like this white barrier, like literally absolute white barrier around your character, and it's just funny. And the only way you can die is if people hit you for more than 500k with each shot. So if they hit you for 600, you're only like taking like 10k damage. It was hilarious because you could see myself on the healing meter just absolutely topping it and stuff like that. Is so funny. But yeah, and then One of my viewers from YouTube, hopefully you're watching this, you mentioned trying Elementalist with uh, Stormbringer. And if you didn't know, Stormbringer has had a talent that wasn't implemented yet called Lightning Rod. And if you don't know what Lightning Rod does, basically when you use Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, or Tempest, it'll mark the target with a Lightning Rod, causing them to take 20% of all Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning damage that is caused. And so it got me thinking. After he mentioned it, I was like, oh man, that would be really interesting with Primordial Wave. Because that is currently, what is being played in retail, as you can see. And I thought, wow, this is crazy because Primordial Wave causes 6 targets to be hit with Lightning Bolt. That means 6 Lightning Rods at once, and that would cause a lot of damage. So I was like, wow, that could actually be really good in Mythic Plus. And I hadn't tried it yet, and I did a little bit of testing with it, and it's actually pretty solid. Although it does have a really weird interaction. Now, Primordial Wave does not work with Tempest proc. It will not cause you to shoot out 6 Tempests, and it will, if you use Tempest while having the Primordial Wave buff, it will not use it. So only Lightning Bolt will use it. So it's a bit of a weird interaction there, but at the same time, I can kind of understand why it doesn't work, because Tempest is an AoE effect. So it strikes the target and does a circular AoE around them. Sorry if this is spoilers, I do apologize. So it kind of makes sense it's not, because if you had 6 of those going out, it'd be kind of like a... And yeah, everything would be dead. It would be kind of unfair in a sense, but it would have some wicked cleave to it. But yeah, that part is super exciting. I didn't even think to try and mix Elementalist and Stormbringer together. So I am so glad that he mentioned it, because I never would have thought about trying it. For whatever reason, it didn't click in. And at the same time, you're bringing in Storm Wolves every time you Tempest too, so that is just another buff to Elementalist as well. You can get those big elemental blasts going off. So yeah, I tested that out, and it was actually pretty solid, so that could be an option too. So it's quite interesting. And I was doing during the arena testing as well, I did Totemic with Elementalist. And if you didn't know, in Totemic you have a chance to summon a Searing Totem right now, which is caused by Lavalash. So when you Lavalash, you have a chance to summon a Searing Totem. And when you summon a Searing Totem, your Hailstorm damage, your Lavalash, and I believe Chain Lightning as well, cause the totem to send out a 5-target Searing Volley, dealing fire damage. And now, originally, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, but I wonder how much damage Searing Totem's actually doing. In arenas, it was my top damage. And not by like a ridiculous amount, but it was my top damage because it is cleaving 5 targets. And it's actually doing very high amount of damage. And when you get 2 or 3 procs, all of those ones are also sending out a volley too. And especially when you have a hot hand proc, like this is going to make hot hand procs even more insane. Now I know a lot of players, a lot of you guys really don't like the Elementalist playstyle, and I don't blame you. It's very annoying and very much a pain in the butt to deal with and figure out and stuff like that. Like, it's a huge priority list and you mess it up, and it's, yeah, I don't blame you. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I also don't particularly hate it. As you can see, I am playing it. It's actually kind of fun in AoE. It's a bit more laid back in my opinion, but in single target it's definitely very difficult, and if you mess it up, it does cause a lot of problems. But yeah, so that's what's gotten me interested. And I have also tried Storm with Totemic, and the reason why is because the Surging Totem does physical damage. And what that means is, because Storm uses physical wolves, you can actually get a significant amount of Surging Totem damage out on it. And there was some unique builds that I tried too with So one of the nodes causes Surging Totem to deal 150% increased damage while ascended, and then you have your Sundering, which causes a big Surging Totem proc and stuff like that. So I tried to do as much damage as possible with it, and I hit a 2 million Surging Totem, which was absolutely hilarious. And keep in mind that does AoE damage, so it's kind of fun. But yeah, so beta is looking good for the most part, and no, we have not had any changes or announcements yet on our class. So, but do keep in mind it's still early. There is still a chance that we're all crossing our fingers for that we will get some modifications to the class or spec or anything at all. Who knows? But yeah, so keep that in mind. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching me do some gnarly damage in this Brackenhide 13. I hope you guys are having great luck with your Mythic Plus. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Laters!